Welcome to a Sunny Side Up Life podcast, a show for the woman who is ready to live an abundant life full of freedom and positivity. I'm Sammy Womack, and I'm on a mission to help you break free from survival mode, gain financial freedom, stay motivated, and focus on what matters most. Join the movement and let's start living on the brighter side of life together. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. You guys, we are at the beginning of the last quarter of the month. And I know that a lot of people are already kind of done with the year. A lot of people are planning to just coast their way through the holidays and all of that and get back to intentional living when January rolls around, right? As soon as the weather starts cooling off, we tend to relax. We tend to put our comfy clothes on, put our feet up, light a candle, and just kind of hang out until the year is over, right? I definitely am on that boat for the most part, but you can put on comfy clothes, light a candle, put your feet up, and still be intentional with the last 3 months of the year. And we're going to talk about how to do that, how to finish the year on a high note, and all about this new M.B.N challenge that I have going on to help you guys finish your year strong and on a high point and not just coast into it and kind of put your goals on the back burner until January. So, first of all, the M.B.N challenge is going to be happening over the next 3 months, and you guys are getting a front row seat to it. The main topics, the main conversations are going to be talked about here on the podcast. So there's nothing you have to opt into. There's nothing you have to enroll in or pay for or anything like that. It is just basically to kind of set the tone, set a theme for us so we stay on topic, we stay motivated. By we, I mean mostly me. I work so much better under a theme, under a, like an end goal result. So for me, this is reminding myself to stay on task, to keep the conversation on task, and to really just stay focused to help you guys as well as myself really just make the most of what we have left of 2019. So the letters M.B.N stand for Mind, Budget, Nest. And that is what we're going to be talking about over the next 3 months. October, we are going to be talking all about mindset. I have a couple of guests coming on to share their take on all of this. And then I'm going to be also coming in probably every other episode. We're going to do an interview, and then we're going to go back to y'all listening to me ramble for 30 minutes to an hour. But we will keep it very on topic these last 3 months, and we'll stay really focused on this challenge. So October, we're going to be talking about mindset. November, we are going to be focusing on the budget, the money aspect of intentional living. And then December, we are going to be focusing on our nest, our home, and minimalism and just intentional living, positive living in the perspective of our home and what that looks like. And we're going to be bringing in guests for all of these topics. And I'm, like I said, going to be filtering in my own take on things throughout. And it's just going to really be really great. I'm really excited about this theme, this challenge, and really just helping us all finish the year strong. And, I think that we get, like I said, we get comfortable, like as soon as the weather starts to cool off and we're just kind of like, oh, well, holidays are rolling around and there's not really much point because things are going to be busy and, I'm going to be eating so many desserts and doing whatever. And there's just not going to be, there's no need to be intentional with money because I'm going to be, spending extra money for holiday dinners and shopping for Christmas presents and traveling and all the things. And so there's not really much use being intentional with my time or my eating or my money or any of it. Like I feel like the general public, our general society really just we just kind of coast through the last 3 months. But when you really think about it, it is 25% of your year. And I feel like times like this are really what sets us apart from your average person, right? We are not going to just put our feet up through 25% of our year, not even counting all of the other little breaks we've taken, which y'all know I am all for taking breaks. I am all for resting when you need to rest, listening to your body, recharging, all of that great stuff. But there is a difference between, oh, well, what's the point? And intentionally recharging. Okay, there is a big difference. So don't think that I'm saying, don't put your feet up for the next 3 months, because I will definitely be right there watching all of the Halloween movies, followed by all of the Christmas movies, followed by extra, nights with candles lit and comfy pants, and I will definitely be right there. But that does not mean that I am going to just, my way through the rest of the year. So I think that this is one of those times where people say, we want to get ahead, but, we all only have the same 24 hours in a day. And while that's true, we all know that it depends on how you use those 24 hours in a day, how you use those last 3 months in the year, right? So this is what is going to set you apart from the average person. These are the times that really make or break your success. So we're going to finish the year on a high note, and we're going to do that together. So some of the things I do when we get to this point is when I want to just kind of coast through the rest of the year, I go back and reassess my goals. So if you are a Power Sheets user, you know that there is a fall refresh. And if you're not, I can easily walk you through it. It's very similar to a spring refresh, which we talked about back in the spring, and I can link to that episode if you're not familiar, if you didn't listen to that one. And again, you should do this in the summer. You should do this seasonally. And this is how people actually achieve their goals, which we talked about this back in the spring as well. You don't just set your goals in January, close your journal, and call it a year, right? It is something that you have to actively continue to work on. And I get asked all the time about people who are on the fence with purchasing the Power Sheets, or they're interested in how I actually achieve my goals. And 9 times out of 10, they will say, well, the hardest part for me is staying consistent, is sticking to it. I just can't seem to check back in. That doesn't happen on accident. You don't just accidentally open your journal or your Power Sheets or the Word doc on your phone, wherever you have your goals written down on. You don't just accidentally stumble across that being in front of you. You have to open the book. You have to flip to the page where your goals are written down. You have to check in with them, which is, again, why I love the Power Sheets, because you have the prompts right there to do a seasonal refresh. You have the prompts right there to fill out your monthly goals. It's right there in front of you. All you have to do is leave the book open. And that's what I'll tell people. They'll ask how, I struggle with staying consistent. How do you stay consistent with your goals? How do you follow through after you set them? And I keep my Power Sheets out. I keep them open for the most part. I mean, I do have kids. I do, hide them from them sometimes. I do close them up and throw them in my backpack sometimes when we're, on a dance class day and I want to update my power sheets. I want to work on my, check in with my goals while I'm sitting waiting for dance class or soccer practice or something to be over with. But figuratively speaking, they're always open. They're always right there, accessible. And it isn't something that I just write down once and put it on the shelf. So the idea behind doing a fall refresh is that I go back and I look at what I wrote down in December, because I did it at the end of December, right before January even started. What were my aspirations for 2019 before it even happened? And I can go back and I can remember that excited girl from December of 2018, and I can remember what she hoped would be in store for 2019. And I can go back, I can read everything I wrote. I can go back and see, why did I set this goal? One of my 2019 goals was to have my own identity. And I can go back and I can remember what I was feeling when I wrote that. I was feeling like I was in the beginning of my journey with counseling. I was, working through a lot of mental health and depression and anxiety issues. And I was really struggling with, who am I? Who am I outside of my role as a wife and a mother and a podcaster and a sister and everything else that I am? Who am I when I'm alone and it's quiet? Like, what is my identity? And I have to have my own identity outside of all of these titles and obligations. And I remember, that was something that came up in counseling, was I don't know who I am outside of these roles. And one of my goals for the year was to find my own identity, create my own identity, which looked like reading more books, meeting new friends, pursuing hobbies, watching more TV shows. Honestly, that sounds silly, like a silly goal, but when you are an overachiever, it's really hard to make yourself rest. And that was a lot of where my anxiety came from. I was burnt out. So there were some shows that I've always wanted, like The Office. I did not watch The Office until January of this year. That was honestly one of my 2019 goals. That sounds silly, but it was something that watching TV was a waste of time. Which, yeah, I'm not someone who just watches TV all day long, but there's a breaking point. There is a point where it's okay to put your feet up and watch Netflix. It's okay to chill sometimes. And that was one of my goals, was to find some new TV shows or to rewatch some TV shows that I loved. I also went and I watched the whole series of Seinfeld, because that was one of my favorite shows growing up. I had really good memories of watching that with my grandpa growing up. And I'm watching Gilmore Girls now. One of my favorite memories with my mom and my sisters, we used to all watch it together. And so I'm going back and I'm watching that, and just documentaries, movies, things that I had wanted to watch that genuinely bring me joy, that genuinely reflect my identity. So it seems silly, maybe, to some people, but I knew how watching The Office aligned with my bigger picture goals of existing outside of watching My Little Pony with my girls. I needed to watch something for myself, if that makes sense. So, although that might sound silly, I knew how it aligned with my big picture goals for my life and how it aligned with my 2019 goals. So, by really working through where I wanted to be in 10 years, and then working backwards of, okay, well, what could I do this year to make progress on that? And then what could I do in the first quarter, in the second, in the third, in the fourth, to make little by little progress towards that 2019 goal, right? And it's really about, I think, looking forward at where you want to be. And I picked 10 years because any more than 10 years, my anxiety is going to go through the roof. I can't think about where I want to be when I'm 80. I'm doing good to think about where I want to be when I'm 35. So I scale it back and I think, where do I want to be in 10 years? Because to me, 10 years is a nice, easy round number. The math is really simple. I know how old I'll be, my husband, my kids, without even thinking twice. It just sounds like a good, simple 10 years. If 10 years is overwhelming to you, maybe it's just 5 or 3, whatever it is. I think that picturing that big vision for your life, that end goal, and then working backwards of okay, well, what can I do this year to realistically make progress? Obviously, I want to be a millionaire in 10 years. Well, that's not really possible when you don't even make $100,000 a year. So what can I do this year that will get me 1 year closer to that big vision? And then break it down even farther. What can I do this season? What can I do this month, this week, today, and et cetera, et cetera. So when you're doing a seasonal refresh, this is how people actually achieve their January goals. This is how you aren't one of those people that gets a gym membership in January and is not using it by March. That is so common. It's so common that it's a cliche, that it's a joke. It's a meme now, right? Because it is just so common for this to happen, and that we've turned it into a joke, which I honestly don't really think it's very funny. It's kind of sad, honestly. Not just a gym membership specifically, because I don't even have a gym membership, but the idea behind, we set goals in January, we get all excited, and by March, we've completely given up. By October, we're not even trying anymore. That's really sad. That's not funny to me at all, as I laugh. You guys know what I mean, though. And this is how we do it. So you go back, you read what you wrote in December, January, at the beginning of the year. You go over your 5 to 10 main goals. Mine, I think, were 8. I think I set 8 main goals this year. And mine are, I am flipping through my power sheets right now to give you some real examples of how I've done this. So basically, I stick with, 8 goals. I have 8 goals for this year. In the power sheets, they give you room for 10, just because any more than that is really overwhelming. So I did 8 because that's how it worked out. My personal goals are have my own identity, which I gave you guys some examples of that. Grow and learn, which is another personal goal, with more of, learning new hobbies, reading new books, expanding on the idea of what is possible for my life. Number 3 is healthy body, healthy mind, and just kind of me reminding myself that my mind, my mental health is just as, if not more important than my physical health, and that the two are linked together, and everything that falls under that category. Goal number 4 is to have a strong family. Goal number 5 is to spend our days together. Goal number 6 is to grow our net worth. 7 is to build an empire, and these last 2 are business goals. And goal number 8 is to have a team around me. So I have 3 personal goals, 3 family goals, and 2 business goals. And so what I do is, those were my 8 main goals, right? But I will go back and refresh them seasonally throughout the year. And I'm just kind of losing my train of thought because I'm flipping through my power sheet. So bear with me. So at the beginning of the year, I wrote out these 8 main goals. And then below them, I put some bullet points of what that looked like for me. So I used the example of my own identity with watching TV, going to counseling, finding new hobbies, things like that. So those little bullet points might change seasonally, and they have changed. So at the beginning of the year, I write everything that I can think of. Obviously, I can't do it all at the same time, but it gives me some point of like, okay, over this year, I want to work on these things. So when I check back in spring and summer and fall, I can go back, I can look at those, I can say, yeah, I've done good with the counseling. I've done good with making some new friends. Maybe I haven't actually read as many books as I would have liked to for the year. So maybe that's what I need to focus on to really finish that goal for the year. So I'll go to my fall refresh, or if you're just doing this in a regular journal or notebook, just start a new page, and I'll write goal number 1, have my own identity, but my bullet points under it will change. So I will say, okay, yeah, I need to continue my work with my quiet time, with my hobbies, but let's shift our focus to getting some more books under our belt for this year. Don't let that part of your goal slack off. And I'll just kind of see where I am and assess what I still need to work on. And I'll do that for all of my goals as I go all the way through them, and I'll rewrite them. And I think the power in rewriting them is really important, and I usually procrastinate on it. I will be honest, I did not do my summer refresh this year. I was just feeling like, if you guys are veteran listeners of the podcast, you know that I was pretty burnt out over the summer, and we took several trips and just kind of a lot of downtime over the summer. And I procrastinated to the point with my summer refresh that it ended up not getting done at all. I'll be completely transparent with y'all. And I survived. It wasn't the end of the world, but also I felt like I didn't have a productive summer as I could have had. Right? I could have been a lot more productive, a lot more intentional, not really productive in the fact of having something to show for it, but even if I was going to be intentionally taking a break, intentionally having quiet time, I feel like it would have been a lot more productive in the long run towards my goals, if that makes sense. So I feel like going through doing the refreshes is really important. Rewriting the goals, remembering why that goal was important to you in the first place, adding new bullet points for things that might have changed. Your priorities might have changed since the beginning of the year, or taking off things that don't apply anymore. So I took off counseling because I'm done with my counseling for now. I added soccer practice because in December, when I wrote these goals, my daughter wasn't in soccer. So going to soccer practice wasn't one of our family goals, wasn't even on our radar at all. So I added that in. So by setting goals, you're not weighing yourself down. You are not just married to these goals. They can still be flexible. So that's why I try to make the main goal a little broad. Like my main goal, in 10 years is I just want to have a strong family, which is why strong family is goal number 4 on my list. And then my bullet points are, well, what does that look like this year? And then in my refresh bullet points, it'll be, well, what does that look like in this season? And how can I translate that into something that I can work on in October? How can I translate that to something I can work on in November and then again in December? What does that look like for me to break it down? So I can know that having a strong family in October of 2019 looks like showing up intentionally at soccer practice, being present, and supporting my daughter. That's what having a strong family looks like in October of 2019. Now, in October of 2029, in 10 years from now, having a strong family might look like something else. But my ultimate goal of having a strong family is still going to stay the same, if that makes sense. So setting goals is not to suffocate you and lock you in and trap you into a theme for your year. It's to really stay intentional and make sure that the path between now and that big vision that you have for your life is intentionally paved, is intentionally mapped out. And it is a roadmap for your life. It is a roadmap of how you get from January 2019 to December 2019. And so you don't lose your way in between. You don't just barrel through life. You don't go at it blindly. You go at it intentionally with a purpose, with an end result in mind. And I really am excited to do this. I've never done this kind of fourth quarter of the year theme before. And I think that it is so important. And so I'm really excited to dig into this challenge with you guys. So like I said, it's not anything that you have to opt into. It's nothing that you have to enroll in. You guys are going to be getting a front row seat here on the podcast. I'm also going to be tying this in on the Rise and Shine newsletters. If you're not on my newsletter list, make sure to get on it. There will be some different content. It'll be encompassing the same theme as we're talking about here on the podcast, but it will be slightly different content, obviously, because it'll be an email, not a podcast. So there'll be some different things in there as well. There will probably be some new blogs. There will be, the Instagram and Facebook posts that correlate with everything we're talking about and ways that you can engage and share in the comments of those posts. I always encourage that. Never feel shy to share. That's what they're there for. I'll be posting on my Instagram stories. Always feel free to reply to let me know, what is resonating with you or what is going on in your life, what questions you have, things like that. That's what I'm here for. So I will link in the show notes to my Facebook group if you're not already in it, my Instagram page if you don't follow me. I usually post on stories every day. I stay pretty active on Instagram, too active actually, but it's always fun. It's always great to show up on stories and interact with you guys and hang out. And I will also link to my Rise and Shine newsletter list, which comes out every other Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that. And you guys I'm so excited. I have our guest list tentatively prepared for the next 3 months. I don't want to give all of it away, but just know that there are some big names coming and there are some really awesome new friends and old friends, and it's going to be good. It's going to be so, so good. So share this episode with your friends, your family, whoever, anyone that you know that could really use this extra little push at the end of the year. Share it on social media, tag me so I can encourage you and support you on your journey. Remember that we're not doing this alone. We are on this journey together. So it is going to be so good. I'm just going to say that over and over again. And you guys also don't forget about my new course, Control Your Crazy, where you can dig into these topics even farther. You're going to get a whole course experience, the workbooks, there are in the workbook to Control Your Crazy, there are not as good as the power sheets. I will say they're not the power sheets, which I'll link to the power sheets too if you want to check them out. They are going on sale very, very soon. So excited. We'll talk more about that soon. But in the workbook to Control Your Crazy, there is my version of a attending list, which is like the monthly goals that you'll see a lot of people post on social media, what you see me post. There is kind of a mock-up of that. There is a like time blocking page in there. Gosh, I can't remember how many pages the workbook is. I feel like it's like 10 to 20, maybe somewhere in there. It's a good sized workbook, and there's a lot of stuff in there that you can really, really use to help you. So check that out. For the workbook alone, it is worth the price of the course. Trust me, it's really awesome. So let me know if you guys have any more questions about Control Your Crazy or anything that is in that or anything else that we have coming up. So get ready. We are going to have an awesome fourth quarter of 2019, and we are going to finish this year on a high note. All right. I will talk to you guys next week for our first interview of the challenge. All right. Bye, guys.